Sarah, welcome to the Lessons of a Lashpreneur show.
Hello.
Hi. All right. So let's dive in. Kind of just give everybody an idea of who you are and what services you offer and what kind of where you're stumped.
Okay, cool. So my name's Sarah Anderson. I'm originally from Nebraska. I grew up there. And with the pandemic and everything, the last couple of years, I ended up moving down to Florida to be with my mom. So right now I'm transitioning into getting my own place. I'm really tight on money. So my main focus is both, starting with a new job here and trying to find something that's a stable income and also supporting this starting business that I'm doing
Yeah.
because it's very doable. Price wise, the most money you spend, I feel like, is for your education and to get the licensing and stuff. So once you get that going, it's all about, your excitement to do it. If you're willing to put the work in, you can make strides. So I'm excited about that. And I just want to figure out what the best route to take is because I'm like a lost puppy dog. I've
Yeah.
been, I've been,
Right. No, you're not alone in that. Like at
Mhm.
every phase in your business, you're going to get to a point like, okay, I did that. And well, now what?
Right,
So
exactly.
anytime I come across these conversations of where do I get started or I'm overwhelmed or where should my time or energy or money be spent, I always like to work with the end in mind. And I don't know if you've heard me say that phrase, but it's so hard for us to figure out what the path is if we don't know where we're going. It's kind of like Google Maps. If you tell Google Maps, I need directions to this house, it's going to ask you for the address. It's going to ask you for the end destination in order to give you the quickest path. It's going to give you alternative routes that may take longer and you can choose, but ultimately it's trying to get you to the end destination. So let me ask you this. Why is it you want to have a business? Why do you want to have a lash business? Why do you want to be a lash artist?
I think for me, it's mostly when I'm around, I feel like I define myself as an introvert,
Okay.
but I can be very social and I'm a very like supportive person and I like when people are around me and they say, "Oh, I love your energy. Like you're really relaxed. You are really relatable. Like you're very, welcoming." And to me, that's big because I've been in the service industry my whole life, but I feel like that's so draining because when I go to, serve a table, it's like you tell the same life stories over and over again. And I want to hear people's stories. I wanted the role to be flipped a little bit to where, I get to know about other people and their experiences and I'm an open door to that, but it's very rare that I get to see that. And I'm very quiet. And when I'm in the service industry, I feel like I work my 3, 4 days serving, and I come home and I shut my doors for 2 days. I'm like, whew. I've
Energetically
exhausted
out.
my life stories, and I wanna just relax a little bit. So for me, it's about having that same energy and being my own person, but taking it back a little bit where the pressure isn't so much about me entertaining people, but me providing something for someone still to where, they have that energy around me and get that energy from me, but, they walk away feeling better about themselves too.
Yeah. So why a business to do that?
I just feel like it's really hard when you work when you work for other people, there's always a standard obviously, and I would have a standard too in my business, but I feel like I have a little bit more control. And most businesses, there's like steps to getting stuff done. And if I want to implement a change in my business, I can do it the next day. I can do it within the next hour. So for me, the biggest thing is, taking that risk and also the motivation. You wake up and I want to say I get to do this instead of, oh, I have to go to work. It's like I get the opportunity to, better people's lives because I'm doing something, not because, oh, I have to go to this job to pay my bills. It's, I want to make a living for myself, and I can be really really proud of that.
Okay. So I'm hearing, I'm hearing control and that I get to an opportunity and even some pride in there. And what that all leads me back to is almost this sense of freedom
Hmm. Oh,
that you get
absolutely.
with being your own boss and not having to follow somebody else's steps. And I don't know if you experienced this, but when I was working for other people, I was like, I could probably do this better. Right.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, I don't know if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. All right. So how will you know when your business is a success? How do you define success?
So for me, I think my bigger overall goals are to have I don't know the numbers yet, but I know I want a steady amount of people that are continuing to visit me, and I want to establish, a connection with people where they feel confident in reaching out to me if they need support, if they have questions, if they want to recommend someone. They don't, it might be a different style than what they come to me for, but they're like, I know that this person's gonna get what you need, whether it's through
Right.
her or somebody else. So
But why? Why? How does what does that give you when you are being referred and you've got word of mouth marketing happening and you're seen as the go-to expert?
I think it just makes me feel like I'm confident in my job, because right now, like working for somebody else, I feel like there's always this like ladder I have to climb, and like working for a corporation, or just like, do I want to be doing that the rest of my life? Because I feel like, people can say like, "Oh, what do you do?" And it's like, no matter what you say, it's like people, no matter what you do, everyone can always kind of look down on you about how you divide your time. But this is something that, like, for me, I feel like would be so fulfilling that I haven't had yet, where I'm helping other people versus, just providing a service. Like, I read so many, heard so many things about like lash artists that are like, "Oh, I'm so in tune with my clients, with my relationships with my, the people I surround myself with." And it's positive people, it's people who are excited to be there. And it's not, like, "Oh, I'm coming in and, I want to be necessarily waited on hand and foot." So they come to you because they trust you and they look up to you. And I think that's just an important role for me, because again, like, it comes with the sense of control, but also, like, I'm a perfectionist, so I know if I don't have the answer to something, I'll figure it out and I'll improve it, versus working for somebody else is like, "Oh, I'm not sure, let me guide you to X, Y, and Z." I don't feel like I'm growing as a person in that sense.
Yeah.
Whereas I would have that sense of, I need to figure this out, and I have to,
Yeah.
and I have the means to do it and change it if I need to.
So to be completely candid, I still don't know how you define success and why a business is so important to you, what your motivations are. I'm hearing a lot of the same stuff over and over again. And so part of that in the coaching experience, when I'm trying to look at what is it we're working towards, it's almost like I need to help you get the clarity on how you define success. So I'm going to be asking questions and I'm going to challenge you on some beliefs that are coming up, because the things that you're saying, like it'll help me feel confident, a sense of pride, like I can help others, you can do that without having a business 100%. In
Right.
fact, you're probably already doing that in your life. You just may not value the method in which you're doing that. So
Right.
that's what I'm trying to uncover is like, what is unique about Sarah's goals and desires that's going to drive her? And the
Right.
interesting thing is that I think most people listening, and maybe not, but is that money hasn't been a part of your desire.
No.
Right? So that's interesting because most people are like, you can make more money working on your own, which if you've worked on your own, you probably know,
Yeah.
or probably not. And your initial message into me was like, where do I distribute finances? Yet
Right.
finances is not a high value to you.
Right.
Money is a tool, right? It's a necessity in order to have certain things, but you don't even have like this lifestyle that you're working towards. So for me, that's telling me that what drives you and what motivates you are things that are internal to you, not external,
Right.
which is a beautiful place to be in, but it's also a slippery slope because if your mood is off, if your hormones are off, all of a sudden everything is off because
Right.
it's internal.
Of course, yeah.
So what caused you to reach out and ask the question?
My biggest thing, I guess, of where my finances go is because I don't feel like money controls your mood per se. So for me, my biggest thing is I'm content with where I'm at financially. Like, growth is obviously important, because obviously I want to, be able to provide for a family and things like that down the road. So as of right now, I'm steady, but I'm not able to save money. So I
Mhm.
want to get to a point where there is growth in the financial aspect of things. Um, but I'm in a place now where, like, I'm about to move out. So I've got a lot of other outside forces kind of coming at this business venture I'm trying to adapt into my life. And I just don't know what the smart move is, because what's important, like for me, happiness is extremely important. So what makes you content at the end of the day? That security of having a roof over your head, and seeing improvements in your business, but also you know, knowing that at the end of the month you're going to be able to afford all your bills. And um being here in Florida compared to Nebraska, it's way more expensive to live, so like
Yep.
that's a huge chunk of the income that I do have. So
So
you
you said
know
something interesting. Sorry to interrupt.
no, you're good.
And I was waiting to see if you would say this word, because to me, that's what I was thinking was security.
Mhm.
You have a high value, I'm assuming, around security.
Right.
So let's get very specific, because it's nice to say I want to have a successful business, I want to make lots of money, but I want specifics. Give me if I was following you around with a camera, say I'm filming you for a reality show. She lit up there. She's like, that's the dream. Now, what is it I'm filming of your life that you go, yep, I have security? Because security is
um,
really a feeling, but I want to know how you define it in your world.
so I guess, I mean, security is a sense of basically, for one, like being a woman, you want to be able to live in a place that you feel safe. Like you
Okay.
don't feel like I have dogs. I have to walk my dogs at night, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to live in a bad neighborhood. So
Right.
this is where I've set my standard of where I need to be looking to find a place to live at this price rate.
Love it.
So
Love
a
it.
sense of security is I need to make this much as an income, but then I need to also be able to transition to where it's like, hey, I have my day job here doing this, and then I want to start this Lash thing, and it's like knowing I'm going to be living on my own, I have to be able to balance that and pull away eventually from
Yeah.
that thing that is my security right now. So it's a very
Yep.
terrifying investment, and I know it's possible, I know it's doable, but again, like my finances are extremely tight right now with getting my license, with moving out. You have to pay like 3 months security deposit,
Yep.
this and that. So that's where all my savings are now. And I don't have savings because I spent this last year, buying the classes to get to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So I'm in this really tug and pull situation where it's like, oh, I've invested so much and now I've run dry. I got to build that up again somehow.
All right, so this is you. Okay, now we got something to work with. So when you talk about you want safe housing in a safe neighborhood,
Mhm.
that will give you a sense of security in your living situation. And so this is where money comes into a play, because it is the tool that gets you that feeling of security.
Right.
So while yes, you have security now, but in the future with your goals of I want to have my own business, I want to move out on my own, I want to have a family someday, all of that is going to require your security that you have now to shift and evolve, and then finding the security in it then. Here's the
Right.
thing is that you can create security at any point because it's a feeling that you create in your head.
Right.
And so there are perspective shifts that can happen, because a lot of you leaving security of somebody else writing your paycheck into going to your own world, you're going to hesitate and resist that just by nature of wanting security. But you
Right.
also have to hack your brain of like, it's okay because we will have security again. It's just going to be a little bit risky and dicey. That's entrepreneurship, right? We can't predict the future. I mean, you can't predict the future anyways. So if you had to say every month for you to live in the safe neighborhood with safe housing, let's just put a dollar amount on that. Just spit out a number that in your area you think that's going to cost you a month.
For like flat rate rent, it would
Sure.
probably be like 1,500.
Great. Okay. So we're starting off with 1,500 in rent. And we'll just add in another 500 just for easy numbers of utilities and bills and all your personal kind of bills. And
Mhm.
then um, maybe another $1,000 as far as food, as far as going out, all your other expenses. So this is how we start to figure out what is it that I need in order for me to function. We have kind of our break even pricing that we're going to need to charge people and the number of clients. This is all what we're working towards, is figuring out how many people do I need and at what price point so that I can afford my lifestyle.
Right.
Then once we get to that, then we can start to look at where money can start to go in other places for it to make sense. There's two ways to grow the profitability in your business, meaning make sure there's enough money at the end of the month that you get to pay yourself. You
Mhm.
either cut back on expenses or you increase your sales. So we don't know which one you need to focus on, or if it's both, until we know how much we need in order to make sure that we're going to be profitable. So we
Okay.
got to figure out what we're going to do to break even first. And then we don't really do anything with the expenses until we get to the point where we have these numbers to know I need to make more or I need to spend less. Okay. So let's say that your personal, that you want to be paying yourself $2,500 a month for you to basically just live. That yes, there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but really that's more or less just covering car payments, food, your ability to live. Right. So do you happen to know how much you're spending on the business each month? Is whether it's rent, whether it's booking software, all that kind of stuff?
So right now I'm probably spending between 200 and 300 a month on just like little bit of supplies, obviously the glue, and then you.
Okay. You rent out a space at all?
I don't right now. No.
Okay. Are you going to? Is that the plan here shortly or?
Game plan. I have someone with a connection who has a room in their waxing spa, so I think I'll be able to reach out. I would just want to make sure and have a license first because I don't want to make it.
Yeah. No, that's smart move.
Yeah.
So on average, how much do you think that would cost you a month?
I've looked into some spaces and like to rent out a space, it'd be about $2,000 on my own. But I again have that connection, so I'm not sure it's just a room right now. So I'm assuming it'd be less than that.
Okay. And you can always, there's a download I'm going to recommend at the end of this that will help you figure out all of this stuff so that you can play with the numbers. It's like, okay, well, if rent is going to be $1,000, what does that look like? If it's going to be $2,000, what does that look like? That way you can make informed decisions. Like if you're going to pay $2,000 a month in rent, you're probably going to need 6 more clients or whatever, right? It's just to figure out how do I make these numbers make sense into number of clients? Because really that's what we're looking for is how many clients do I need in order to know, okay, I'm breaking even. Okay, now I'm at a level where I'm paying myself. Now I'm at a level where I'm comfortable, I'm saving. And now I'm at a point where I can invest back into the business and grow it and scale it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's call it another $3,000 for the business to break even and stay open. So we're looking at about $5,500 a month in sales you're going to need to do in order for you to not only support yourself, but the business to support itself too. When I say that amount, what comes up for you?
That's like double what I'm making.
Yeah. Is that a good thing? Is that a scary thing? Is that what?
It's not scary. I know it's doable. It's just I'm in a place where I need to get my licensing and then I can make those moves. So
Yeah.
It's doable. It's just a time.
Yeah. And in some ways, I wouldn't have you risk trying to grow the business that much when you're kind of doing it under the table. So when the license comes through, then that kind of frees you up of I'm not risking a whole lot, right? Or as much. Okay. So for anybody who heard 5,500 and went, "Whoo!" Keep in mind she's in Florida. It's pricier. Yours may not be that high, but it's just like we said, it's a tool. It's a tool to get you to something. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not hard. It's not easy. It's just a number. If I take the dollar sign off of it, it's 5500. Like whatever people need to do to release the angst they put around money. All right. Let's talk about what you charge on average for your fill prices.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't had an opportunity to do any fills yet.
Okay. What is it that you plan on charging?
I plan on starting like my classics at 80 for fill.
Beautiful.
And it was funny. I had kind of an epiphany the other day. In the month of October, I do like a scare thing, like a haunted trail. So I haven't had lashes because I've been putting a lot of full makeup on and I didn't want to like waste the money. And I was like, oh, I want to try and find somebody, but I just moved here, so I don't know anyone. And for whatever reason, I can't find anyone on Instagram. I've been searching and I'm like, nobody has Instagram. It's the weirdest.
Oh, well, there's an opportunity for you to jump on Instagram and be the only person people can find. Because if you are intentionally looking for it and you can't find it, girlfriend, there's opportunity.
And so I'm just going crazy, pulling my hair out. Like, where do I go? And I'm like, oh, these prices are kind of expensive. I want to see if they're good. I don't want to like risk it because again, my money's tight, but this is an investment I see as important. And then I kind of laughed at myself because I have my board on my wall behind me of what my expectations are as prices. I'm like, how can I expect somebody else to charge a relatively cheaper price than what I would want for my business? So then I was like, you know what? I have to wash that away and think of it as a business standpoint and an investment in my business and be willing to get, like a decent service that I can afford but make it a priority to where I can cut funds somewhere else and do it to where, it's I'm a walking billboard. So to me, that's an investment. So
It is, but also keep in mind that you may not be your ideal client.
of course.
I would say most lash artists are not their ideal client because especially when you're starting off, money is tight.
Yeah.
So there could be a line where it's irresponsible for you to pay up to a certain price if it means that you can't put gas in your car. And this is the same for clients too. Like if they keep trying to get discounts because you're out of their budget,
Right.
that's their responsibility, not yours to adjust your pricing. So yes, while we want quality work but also, if you can find somebody who's lower price until you can get established, that may be okay too. That may be an area you can cut expenses because getting your lashes done, check with your accountant, could also be a write-off that the business is paying for, by the way. But that would just be something to consider is that, yes, you should be getting lashes. I mean, all these expectations, like I don't have lashes on right now. I haven't had them on since the pandemic started. And I have it in my head of like, I want to go get it. But right now, my lifestyle, as busy as I am, I can't maintain them, right? Like I cannot, I'm choosing not to find the time. I'm not a victim to my time. So just a little bit of a perspective flip there of like, yes, you want to be able to invest in pricing, but let's keep in mind too that most people pull their pricing out of their butt and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Right. So getting back to you at your $80 a fill. Now I base number of clients based on fill appointments because fills really are the bread and butter of our business. Full sets, yes, you get them a lot at the beginning, but ultimately when we get to being fully booked, which is kind of the goal for you to have a lot more control and freedom over your business, is full with fill clients. So I'm going to base the numbers off of fill clients, and we'll just call any money that comes in from a full set is like, yay, bonus money. Right. How often do you anticipate clients coming back? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm relatively new to like lashing, so I didn't start lashing until like June.
Okay.
And again, I just moved here, so it's been my sister, some coworkers, and again, I don't think they're like my ideal clients because they don't even know bottom tier anything about lashes really. Like my sister is the one who knows the most about them, and she's had them a couple times, and she's still obviously there's a lot she could learn. I mean, she's not a lash artist, so why would she look
Yeah.
into that? But so yeah, I really I think that's an area that I also struggle with because this is a new like I've been a waitress forever. So like having that clientele mindset, that's new to me as well. So
Yeah. So how often do they come back for fills?
um
Or
like
how long do the
not
lashes last? Do you happen to know with your sister at least?
well, my sister had hers like obviously not a beautiful full set for a month, but she's like, man, they're still hanging on. Like I'm kind of surprised. So I know my work is good. It's just, you gotta maintain it at
So
that point.
after a month, she still had some left in there?
Yeah, like she's
Okay.
still rocking
So at a
them.
fill, I would say on average, most people come back every 2.5, 3 weeks. So
Mhm.
we're going to stick with 2 weeks, just knowing that it's going to take you a while to get where your full sets are getting really, really full, where they have a lot more retention and where you're figuring out retention with adhesive, especially if you're in a new area, especially as humid as Miami. So if we're looking at clients coming back every 2 weeks, that means that basically we can cut the number of clients that you're going to need in a month in half
Mhm.
because the first half is going to come in the first half and then they're going to come in the second half too. So when I take $5,500 a month and I divide it by your $80 fill price point, that gives me 68.75, although it's hard to find 3/4 of a client. So we're going to round up to 69 appointments a month, 69 fills a month to get to your $5,500 in sales.
Okay.
So if I'm looking at them coming back twice a month, because they're coming every 2 weeks, we're looking at about 34 and a half, call it 35 clients total that you would need to be at $5,500 in sales.
Right.
So when I put it in 34 clients, how does that number make you feel? Or 35 clients?
Definitely better.
Okay. Not as overwhelming, right? It's not like I need 117 clients.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot.
Right. So, and some people are going to come and they're not going to come back. And some people are just going to be a couple times and they won't come back. So it is an overtime kind of a thing. But this is where we really start to look at how do we take this big number of $5,500 and start to break it down into what do I need to do this week? How many clients do I need today? Right? Okay. So we're going to look at 35 clients, and we're just going to divide that in half so that we know on average you need to be seeing about, we'll call it 18 clients a week.
Okay.
How many days a week are you available to work to take Lash clients? I know eventually you'd like to be full-time, whatever that means to you.
So right now, I have like my serving job, and then my goal is to take the classes for licensing so that I'll have my daytimes open during the week. Then I'll work at night. And then I'll just, once my class is done, I'll just have that available to Lash during the day.
Okay. And so how many days a week is that?
So essentially it'd be 4 to 5, but realistically I want to say 4 just so I
Yep.
do have a day off.
Totally cool with that. I love days off. I love 2 or 3 days off.
Right.
So really you need to be doing 4 to 5 clients a day, 4 to 5 fills a day to get to your $5,500.
Right.
So if you're doing about, if it's going to, you know, especially since you're starting off, if you're doing 2 hours for a fill, which is on the higher end, especially for classic, over time you'll get faster where it could be down to an hour. You're working about an 8.5 hour day.
Right.
Maybe a little longer. Okay. So that's where we start. And that's where I like to start is like, okay, this is the first goal. First goal is to get to where I'm doing, I like to set like milestones along the way. So I feel encouraged that things are moving and progressing. So I would say your first goal is to get 4 clients in a week.
Right.
Right. And then bump it up to, I want 2 clients every day that I work. And then I want the 4 to 5 clients a day. So having these milestones for me, like my first fully booked goal was 4 clients a day, 4 days a week is what I would consider myself to be fully booked. After that, I raised my prices, right? I wasn't going to add hours to my day as my demand increased. I was going to increase my prices because I didn't want to take more than 4 clients a day, 4 days a week. That was my standard. Okay. So when we're looking at the financial side of things, you had mentioned something in the pre-interview about, you know, your sister will come in and she'll want to try something new and you go and you buy the supplies and then you do it. And then, you know, she wants to try again and she wants to try something different this time. So you have to go buy supplies and all of that.
Right.
When you get to the point when you're kind of just starting out, but I would never let anybody, including family, tell me how to do my job solely for the sense that they don't understand the cost that comes with it. They also don't understand the design that comes with it. There's a lot you can do with the current lashes you have to switch up looks and customize looks without buying new supplies. So in general, I recommend doing mixed trays when you're just starting out in a variety of curls and thicknesses.
Okay.
Right? You will start to see the more friends and family that you do that you are using this pretty much a lot of the same lengths.
Right.
Right. So you're going to find that you're going to use a lot of 9s, 10s, 12s for the most part. Right. Maybe 11s in there too, just depending on how you do lashes. So then my next purchase would be single length trays of that curl, that thickness, and that length.
Right.
Because then now all of a sudden, because, you know, for the most part, the 15 millimeter lengths, you're going to use very rarely. So you don't necessarily need to buy a full tray of that. Your mixed trays can kind of be that for the occasional crazy client who wants the super long lashes, right? If you do them. But they're going to get so much more of a return and use out of single length trays.
Right.
Because at your level right now, with only a few friends and family that are coming in, a single length tray could last you months and months and months. Right. Now, what is it that she switched between the 2 appointments that she wanted to try differently?
So for me, I've been doing like the Camilla fans, and she was like, oh, I want to try like something with a spike or like a wet look, or you know,
so she wanted all these advanced things that you're like, what the heck?
Which I'm happy to try because obviously that's a learning curve for me, and I love that. I love those styles as well, so I do want to learn those. So yeah.
He's forcing you to run before you're walking. Is what's happening. And bless her heart, if she wants to buy those trays and bring them and you put them on her, great.
Right.
But you don't have to buy, especially with like pre-mades or volume, like you're not at volume level yet.
Right.
So I wouldn't even waste your money on that because that's not the service you're going to be providing.
Right.
You know, and you said like she'll chip in every once in a while so she can buy the trays and you can play and have fun. But there are ways to achieve these types of looks with classics.
Right.
Again, if you're still learning this and you're not even licensed yet, my concern is that we're not focusing on the basics of getting your retention down, making sure application is seamless, getting them to last. Then we can work on eye styling. Then we at some point we got to build a clientele, right, to pay for this kind of stuff. So the basics of what I would say to do is typically what comes in a kit. Did you ever get a kit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I would just start, instead of replacing the mixed trays that you got in your kit, start replacing them with single length trays, because that's going to be a long-term investment that you're going to be able to use rather than switching things up,
Right.
time and time again.
Right.
Then you're also going to want to look at the types of clients that you're having coming in, and you'll start to kind of get a feel for, I tend to use a lot of D's because I got a lot of girls who like dramatic, and then I like C's because they can create spikes. So when she's saying she wants a spiky look, that is eye styling, right? So that you can put in if you're averaging 10 to 12 millimeter extensions that you're putting on her, you can throw in a 14 millimeter or 15 millimeter, or two 13s next to each other to get this kind of spiky look. And you're just going to create the design to be very spiky. And those are fun.
Right.
If you do have volume trays, I recommend going lighter and doing a, 2 to 3.07s and a 15 to get a spike look, and then taper down next to that 14s, 13s, and then your regular set. So, you can also look at strip lashes for inspiration, kind of get a feel, or even take an extension and put it next to the strip lash to see what length they're using and how they kind of design it. So that's where the artistry side comes in, where you can find inspo everywhere. And it's really cool. You have your sister who's like, try this out.
Right.
So as far as where to spend money and where not to, you just have to look at what is getting in your way to move forward in your business. So if you had to pick the one thing that is standing in your way right now from moving forward and having the security, the stability, the $5,500 a month, what is that one thing?
Definitely the licensing.
Great. So how much money do you need in order to do the licensing part of it?
So with the licensing, I found a school that I can go to and do it with like federal student aid.
Great.
So I wouldn't have to pay anything up front, but it would be about, I believe they said like 6 to 8, depending. If I do it out of pocket, I can just do like the facial specialist license, which is all the minimum requirement is for Florida. But they said if I want to use financial aid, I'd have to do like, I believe 2 more months, and then it would be like double the cost because it includes nails, which, I mean, if it helps me not pay out of pocket, I might be willing to do that. I'm on the fence about it.
Yeah. Well, that again, that's just where you write it on a piece of paper. It's going to cost me this much out of pocket, but I will be done 2 months earlier. So I'll have 2 months of ability to earn income, or I can use FAFSA and it's going to take me longer. I have more skills that I'm probably not going to use, but I'm only coming out of pocket this much.
Right.
So you can look at it of, if you're looking at a whole calendar year and you're going to say, it's going to take me 4 months to get this, and this is the cost, or it's going to take me 6 months to this, but this is the cost. Then you can compare which makes more sense.
Right.
Because honestly, you getting it done faster is going to increase your ability to make money faster.
Right.
You're going to be able to pay it off faster.
Right.
Now, I don't know if FAFSA is going to cover everything.
Right.
That would be something to consider. And if it is, then why not take the free ride, right? So if first, and this is how we prioritize things, this is what's going to get you to move forward in your business. So we don't worry about expenses on anything else, because everything is going towards this one goal, because you're crippling your ability to earn an income and grow and get out of the serving world and not having that security because you don't have the license.
Right.
And once you get the license, what's the next obstacle you envision?
So the next thing I would say would be to get into a space, because in Florida, you can't do it out of your home.
Great.
So it would be getting that space, which I've already looked into, so I kind of know the pricing for that. But I also, I've met up with and kind of collaborated and linked up with the lady with the waxing space, and so we haven't talked money or anything, because I said respectfully, like, if you can rent that out sooner, I'm not going to hinder you from doing that.
But if you don't have a license, why are you even looking at a space?
Exactly. So that's what I told her. I said I need my license, but it is good to know.
So just so you know, if you perform the services that you're talking about performing without a license, now you can verify in Florida, but for
Mhm,
most states that require a license, it's actual a misdemeanor.
mhm.
You can get fined a lot of money.
Right,
I, as an authority, and I'm looked up to, I do not recommend doing it against state laws. It would be
right,
illegal for you to perform those services. There, I've
right.
said my due diligence.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't even consider that space to be available because you can't legally rent it and provide the services you want to provide and have the business you want to have for
Right,
another what 4, 5, 6 months maybe, and that'll probably be gone.
right.
So I would say maybe a month before you're ready to take your state boards and get
Mhm,
your license, that's when you start looking for open spaces. It may be that you're going, so when you're first starting out, sometimes it's easier to work for somebody else
mhm.
to start to build the clientele. Now, businesses that follow me and have their ish together have non-competes and they hire you as an employee. So that may not be something that I would recommend, but there's not a lot of businesses that follow me that own salons. And there's a lot of people doing it under the table illegally, hiring you as a 1099, in which case the clientele is yours, whether they like it or not.
Right.
Right. So that might be a good opportunity for you to get paid to practice your skill set, to have that security that you're looking for, to have a realistic picture of how many clients that you're going to take when you start at
Mhm.
this space, especially if your space is going to cost you $2,000 a month. That is a big liability and risk for you starting off a business that you're going to have to pay whether you have the clientele or not.
Right.
Your desire for security is not going to like that risk.
Mhm.
So if you can work your way up to that, sharing a room, there's tons of salon suites where people don't use them all day, every day. Contacting the salon suites around you, going, hey, is there anybody who wants to share a room? Let me rent it out 2 days a week, right?
Mhm.
Even especially if you have serving as an income on the side that's able to support you. We just, again, the whole goal is transitioning you out of being a server and being full-time lash artist.
Right.
Make sense?
Mhm.
So what questions are coming up for you as far as like, where is my money best spent? How do I know and determine where should I spend money or not?
Um, yeah, I think that's kind of my biggest thing because like right now, like I don't have a ton of people to really like practice on, and I don't mind like practicing on a mannequin, but it's definitely different.
Oh, for sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when you work with people, everybody's lashes are different. A mannequin is like you get the same lash every
Yep.
single time. It's like you can stack them, but it's like same thing, no
You know, you
challenge.
can lash your arm hair too. That gives you at least the texture to cling to.
That's good. I got a lot to work with then.
Yeah, me too.
No,
Yeah. So I think whenever you're deciding on where is money best spent or having to pull back on expenses, all that, I, if I was in your position and take it or leave it, I would not be spending any more money on lash stuff. I would be
right,
putting that towards my ability to get the license
right.
and legitimize myself.
That's where I'm at now. So I guess I just struggle mentally with the idea of buying a bottle of glue for like $30, $35, and then it
Yeah,
going
especially if you're only going to use it
back
two,
up.
three
Yeah.
times a month. Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, but I've had such a, back and forth time because like I obviously want and need that practice, but it's like I can't I also can't get the clientele in because I'm not
Justify.
licensed.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Again, I think you're trying to put the cart before the horse.
right.
The goal, the only thing that I want you focusing on is getting licensed because that opens you up to grow, to expand, to put yourself out there without risk. Because it wouldn't surprise me if there's some mental stuff going on in there, probably even subconscious to you of, I can't really put myself out there too much because I'm not licensed. Because
Right.
you've brought it up multiple times. So I know you're very aware that that is something that needs to happen.
Right.
So you're never going to get to that level. You're never going to get to where you can even cover your costs because legally you can't really charge anybody for the services because you're not licensed to do them.
Right.
And you're having to pay out of pocket for something that you can't really charge for unless your sister's kind of sliding you some money.
Right.
But if you really want to do this, if you really want to give yourself a chance at being successful at this, then do the work that needs to be done.
Right.
So your first decision is deciding on what makes more sense, using federal aid or paying out of pocket, and commit to it and sign up for it and forget when it's going to be perfect. Forget that is step one for you to get to that security, stability, that life that you want. because without that, you're never going to get there.
Of course.
Does that make sense? You
Mhm.
have clarity on that,
Yes.
but you don't like it.
I know, I love
Like,
it.
I know, mom.
I've been investing in my classes and licensing all summer, so my parents randomly just decided we're gonna move. So that put me in a situation because we sat down and actually had a conversation where I was like, "Hey, just so you guys know, I had been planning on moving out, but I want to take this opportunity that I'm living with you to invest in this." And we were all on the same page. And then randomly they were like, "Oh, we think we want to move."
Okay.
I'm like,
So
"Oh,
maybe it means getting a roommate. I mean, you can make this work. It may not be pretty for a couple months.
right,
You're savvy enough to figure it out. You've got plenty of options, but let's not make short-term solutions for problems that's going to create long-term problems for you.
hmm
Because the last thing I want is you having the government on your butt because they found you in a waxing salon because state board came in and you weren't licensed, because that's going to create a slew of more problems for you
yeah,
and a lot more expense spent on nothing other
right,
than paying the government.
exactly."
So that is my words of wisdom to you. Any other questions you want to ask before we wrap up?
Um, no, I think that's it.
All right, doll. Well, I appreciate you putting yourself out there. I appreciate you bravely applying to be on the podcast. And thank you so much for sharing your story and being along for the ride.
Of course, I appreciate you and your time as well.
Of course. All right, Sarah. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Tara.
All right. Bye.